Today is the NBA trade deadline, and you can see the NBA trade deadline coverage on the NBA TV, first with a 1-hour special, 10 before tip at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, then NBA game time at 7 p.m. Network's wall-to-wall trade deadline day coverage beginning with regular live updates coming up in just about 20 minutes from now, and a 4-hour live show from 1 until 5 p.m. to discuss the latest breaking news and trades as they happen. Jared Greenberg from NBA TV joins us this morning. Good morning, Jared.
If you had to trade Mraz, but you were trying to get a lot for him, what would your sales pitch be to another show?
I'd say, look, let's be real here. Mraz is not going to bring you the work ethic perhaps you desire other people would normally. He's not going to bring you some of the X's and O's, the fundamentals. He doesn't know how to spell. He's bad with facts. However, it's going to be big personality. Your show will sound funnier. He'll bring good repartee. He's going to be an intangible guy. Don't look for him to keep a locker room together, to keep your team on straight, but he's going to be an intangible guy, personality-driven.
You know, I had a coworker of mine use the same exact description to try and set me up with a girl once.
Now, was the girl the girl was the intangible, or you were the intangible?
Well, that's yet to be determined.
Got it.
If you were to use that sales pitch to get Mraz off your team and onto another one, you'd probably get not even a second-round draft pick.
Well, that's probably fair for what his compensation should be.
Okay.
How are you?
Be careful. I'm doing great.
Good.
I tell you, you know, when my phone buzzes after the Super Bowl, yeah, I know it can only be one possible place getting in touch with me. Now, the place that forgets about me for 6 months out of the year, and then as soon as the Super Bowl's over, my turn.
Yeah, once football ends, we now desperately need you again. We come crawling back to Jared Greenberg. My big question here is that while there is new to the day, obviously the trade deadline, LeBron shot of the buzzer yesterday, things shaking out of the postseason, race, a lot of injuries. Biggest NBA news to me is that now your Twitter handle is at Jared S. Greenberg, no more at NBA TV Jared. Talk to us about the decision there.
Well, quite frankly, DA, I'm a little disappointed. This has been, I believe, 1.5 years old now. I'm not even making this up. I'm not even doing this to joke around with you. It's been at least a full NBA season, if not more, and this would be the half. So, I mean, I can make something up if you want.
So nobody feels like we're going to have any blockbuster deals today.
No.
And that's because there's too many bloated contracts from last offseason, 2 off seasons ago. Is this going to be a quiet deadline day?
Yeah, and quiet from the standpoint of no blockbusters. But, you know, it's all relative, right? If I would have told you that basically 6 All-Stars would have been traded since the end of last season, would you take that as a pretty big trading season? Right. It's just that it didn't happen right now is what's interesting, I think, is the timing of everything. And I think, too, you know, the reason why a lot of teams are trying to make trades at this point are purely financially motivated to get out from underneath some of these contracts and create some flexibility so they can go out and make some deals this summer. And being that everybody knows that, nobody wants to help each other out right now. And I think we'll probably get a small deal. You know, to be honest, it's a pretty big deal these days that the Spurs are in trade talks in season. They don't make too many of those. And it looks like now that they're getting closer and closer on Avery Bradley.
Do you think that the Cavaliers will hold on to that Nets pick?
Yes, I do. And listen, I'm of the mindset, regardless of what your future looks like, your long-term future, if you have a chance to win a championship now, and you have the best player in the world on your team, you do everything under the sun to try and make that happen. The problem with this year in the NBA is that quote-unquote bullet is not out there to get. The Cavs can get guys that make them marginally better. If they can find a way to get DeAndre Jordan, they would be better. But it's marginal. There's not the market with guys like Paul George, who were on the market last year, or Jimmy Butler. There's not that true game changer that's going to help the Cavs replace Kyrie Irving. So I wouldn't trade that pick right now because you're not telling me that you're giving me that much better of a chance to win, and then I'm also going to mortgage my future for that? Nah, I wouldn't do that.
Why does Dan Gilbert feel so confident in life after LeBron, according to reports?
Well, I think it's this is kind of tough to say. Having the greatest player in the world, maybe one of the two or three, in my mind, greatest players to ever play the game on your team isn't always a cakewalk. And at the end of the day, it works out because you win a lot, and that's a great thing. But when you have that guy on your roster, the demands that come along with it, and rightfully so, a lot of it from his perspective, is on a daily basis making sure we're doing everything in our power to be the best team ever, or the best team in the NBA. And the ultimate challenge that's been thrown their way the last couple of years is that the Golden State Warriors have built a roster that might go down as one of the greatest rosters of all time. So you've got this conflicting dynamic constantly going back and forth about how do we get better, and you want to make him better, but yet LeBron isn't committing to a long-term future in Cleveland, which no player is ever asked to do or is required to do. And I don't think LeBron should, but at the same time, if he's not going to do it, the Cavs shouldn't then, again, try and plan for having him when he very well may bolt in July.
Jared Greenberg, NBA TV. We just saw Oklahoma City go to Golden State, win by 20. In fact, they've beaten the Warriors twice this season. Is that cause enough for us to believe that perhaps the Western Conference playoffs aren't necessarily set in stone?
I would have a hard time believing that anybody other than Golden State comes out of the West. But I think these teams, and you and I spoke about this, I believe, over the summer, about how refreshing it is that teams, instead of looking at Golden State in the West and waving the white flag and saying, you know what, we'll play for ping pong balls, decided to say, let's go get better. We can't get the same talent they have, but let's collect as much talent as we can and make it a challenge. And I think that once Oklahoma City finally finds a rhythm, which they have yet to do at any point this season, it's been a major roller coaster. They get up for the big games, they get down for the opponents that they feel that they shouldn't need to get up for, and it costs them big time. And ultimately, I don't think it's taught them enough about themselves to get ready for the 7-game series. But yeah, there is enough talent in Oklahoma City, in Houston, depending on what San Antonio does. I think Minnesota is going to be wildly fascinating to watch. The playoffs will be much more competitive this year.
Do you think it's a smart idea for Oklahoma City just to ride things out with Paul George this season, even if he doesn't have any intention of re-signing?
I don't. I mean, I've been saying for a while that I believe that they should have traded him and try and recoup some assets, because you're going to be stuck in a spot here potentially if Paul George leaves and Carmelo Anthony, if he opts in, which all signs point to him doing so because he's not going to be able to make that type of money on the open market, with a roster that's essentially worse top to bottom than it was last year when Russell Westbrook won MVP, due in large parts, obviously, the historic triple-doubles and him averaging a triple-double, but also the case was built that he dragged the team. Many tried to build it up as essentially G-Leaguers into the playoffs. Now, I didn't believe they were that bad then, but they will be significantly less talented next year if Paul George leaves than they were last year. And it's Oklahoma City, which, no offense here, but even if they have cap space, even if they have flexibility, Russell Westbrook's not proven to be this ultimate recruiter, and who's coming to Oklahoma City? I mean, that's a tough place to get free agents to come to when they're not going to have any more money than other teams to spend.
So when it comes to Oklahoma City, then, they're going to ride this thing out more than likely. You think they could be competitive in the Western Conference playoffs, but you think that it's probably all for naught.
Well, it depends what your goal is here, right? Like, I believe that they put this team together with Carmelo Anthony, Paul George, Steven Adams, and Russell Westbrook, and some other complementary pieces to go and win a title this year. I thought it was a long shot, but I thought it was a much better chance for them this year than they had last year. And why not go ahead, Paul George? He's certainly one of the best 15, at the very worst, one of the best 15 players in the NBA. So go get a shot. But after watching this team night in and night out, I believe they are talented enough. I just constantly have questions about their ability to commit to a style of play and stay within that for 4 quarters of big basketball games against great competition, and in the 7-game series when they have time to prepare for you with 1 or 2 days off between games. So, again, if they could have won a title, if I thought they could have won a title, go for it. But I don't know that they get much further than the second round.
Raptors fans believe in Toronto. I think everybody outside of Toronto doesn't. Should we believe in the Raptors in the East?
I think you need to watch more NBA TV because I think a lot of people believe in Toronto. And they're one of the more intriguing teams to watch today here because I think Toronto's got an unbelievable roster right now. They'll be really good, and they have some long-term sustainability on this roster too. I used some big words there for you, DA. I think
I like that.
The way Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster built this roster, they're going to be good this year and next few years. But nothing is guaranteed in the NBA. You don't know how the power shift changes next year. You don't know who gets injured. This is going to be the Raptors' best chance in their history to get to the NBA Finals. The Cavaliers, LeBron James is vulnerable. You don't know what next year is. I would go out and make a big move this year before today's deadline and try and bolster your chances because the Raptors are not promised to ever have an opportunity like they have this year. I truly believe right now, as we speak today, they are the best team in the East. Now, ultimately, will it be the Celtics? Maybe, probably. But the Raptors are really, really dangerous.
What makes them better than Boston in the East right now?
Their depth. They are extremely talented. Their bench play has been unbelievable. The fact that they have totally flipped the script on how they play, everything that they have gotten criticized for in the playoffs the last couple of years when they have fallen apart, they don't do that anymore. And yeah, you can say, well, it's not the playoffs, but the point of it is the reason they've gotten to that point is because of the style of play, and they're totally a different team. If you haven't watched the Raptors, they're much more fun and exciting than ever before. DeMar DeRozan is averaging more assists per game than Kyrie Irving. You look at the numbers for Kyrie Irving and DeMar DeRozan, if you want to have an interesting MVP conversation for outsiders, guys just outside the top 3 or maybe even top 5 of the MVP conversation, DeRozan and Kyrie Irving are knocking on the door, and their numbers are identical, and they're both basically atop the Eastern Conference.
Jared Greenberg, NBA TV host and reporter. You can see Jared today, NBA Trade Deadline Day coverage, first on a special 1 hour, 10 before tip at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Then on NBA Game Time at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And NBA Network's wall-to-wall trade deadline coverage begins with a regular live updates with 10 a.m. coming up in just about 8 minutes from now, and a 4-hour live show from 1 until 5 p.m. Eastern Time to discuss the latest breaking news and trades as they happen. Now that football is gone by the wayside, Jared, you become our best friend, so thanks.
See you tomorrow, guys.
Thanks for not holding it against us.
I know the deal.
Thanks also for taking me out for a nice hamburger when I was in Atlanta.
What, are you going to tell people about that?
I already did when I came back.
All right. Well, it was good. It was really good.
It was really good.
I felt like we bonded.
We definitely did bond. We already had a bond. It was even more bonding. The burger was amazing, and the beer was great. Atlanta, local, I loved it. Whatever the beer was that we had was tremendous.
Microbrews in Atlanta catching fire right now. It is awesome beer scene now.
Yeah, I think next time we have you on, we'll just talk about the Atlanta beer scene.
All right, cool. I'll get drunk. It'll work out well for me.
Okay. Thank you, Jared.